Hey, algebra students. In this lesson, we are going to be learning how to factor trinomials once again. But unlike the last time we did it, where we had trinomials in the form x squared plus bx plus c, now we're going to add in another term, the a in front of x squared. So before, there was a little trick that we used. We had to find factors of c so that when I found the factors of C, they added together to make B. So factors, before we made it so the factors of C added to B. That's not going to work anymore because now I'm going to have this term in front of the x squared term, and that's just going to make things a lot more difficult. So what we're going to need to do is just look at the possibilities and find a possibility that works. Let's get started with this first one. And here's what I mean by look at the possibilities. So for letter A, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all the possible factors that are going to make 9x squared. And then we're going to do like we did before, the possible factors that make 8. And then we're going to consider what when we FOIL out the factors, what's going to happen to the middle term. This is a lot of guessing and checking, or even like not just guessing and checking, but sometimes I'm just going to be doing trial and error to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to note is that 9 has two sets of factors that make 9. So 9x can multiply by x to make 9x squared. Or I could use 3x times 3x to make 9x squared. So the very first thing I need to do is make sure I think about what I could use to multiply together to make this first term. And that's, remember, when I'm foiling, I'm always going to multiply the first terms together. So whatever I put in front of my factors has to multiply to make 9x squared, to make that first term. So it's going to be 9x times x, 3x times 3x. There's one other possibility. Order does matter in these. So I'm going to do x times 9x. And there really aren't any other sets of initial factors that I could possibly use for this. So this is what I'm going to start with. Now, over on the side, I'm just going to note what the factors of 8 are that I could use. I could use 1 and 8. I could use 2 and 4. And then, because order matters on these, I could use 4 and 2, and I could use 8 and 1. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. For each of these three, I'm going to just play around with the sets of factors. Oh, hey, one other thing I'm going to note. Notice that my middle term is plus. Because my middle term is plus and everything is positive up here, that means that my sign in my factor has to be plus plus. So we have a plus on this side, a plus on this side. Okay, so I'm just going to enter a bunch of pluses down here just to get a visual for how we're going to have a plus on either side. A plus here and a plus right here. All right, there we go. So now what I need to do is figure out what I'm going to plug into the second slot that will add up to 38. Let's go ahead and just try 1 and 8 and see what one of these does. All right, so now the reason that this works sort of so far is because 9x squared will be my first term and 8 will be my final term. The question is, do I get 38x in the middle? Well, what do I have to do to figure out the middle term? I have to do the OI of FOIL, right? The OI, outer and inner. 9x times 8 is 72 plus another 72x, right? 9x plus 8 is 72x plus another x is 73x. That is not 38x. That's way too big. Hey, I wonder what would happen if I put the 8 and the 1 here. Because I know that 3 times 8 is 24. That's going to get me kind of close to 38. So 3 times 8 is 24 plus 3 is 27x. That's not close enough. Okay, let me just see if there's any of the other ones of these pattern. I wonder if x plus 1 and then put that 8 here is going to give me anything different. Notice I just what I did was I broke down the x into the three different types of uh, factors that could give me the 9x squared. That's how I started. And then I plugged in my first set of factors to all three alternatives. I don't think I'm going to come up with anything from these three alternatives because this last one is going to give me 9x squared plus 8x plus 9x. It's only 17x in the middle plus 8. So none of these correctly gives me this trinomial. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to recopy all of these. Okay, I'm going to paste them down here. I'm going to get rid of some of the extra fluff. I'm going to get rid of the factors that I just tried that didn't work because they obviously none of these actually worked so far. So I've done 1 and 8, and I'm pretty sure that 1 and 8 is not going to give me results. So I'm going to move on to 2 and 4. I'm going to plug in a 2 here. I'm going to plug in a 4 over here. And we're just going to brute force this and see if we can figure out any of these that actually work. Okay, so this first one, 9 times, let's see, 9x times 4 is 36. Oh, wait a second. Plus 2x, 36x plus 2x is 38x. This is the one. I don't even have to do, once you find it, you can stop. So I'm just going to highlight this in yellow. Oh, I just highlighted everything in yellow. Let's try that again. Highlight in yellow. There we go. This is the one. This is the factored trinomial. When I multiply this out again, let's just double check all of it. It's going to be 9x times x is 9x squared plus 36x plus 2x. That gives me plus 38x plus 8. I found it. I set up these other ones, but there's no need to even try them because there's only going to be one that works, and I found the one that works. I can move on to letter B. So watch again, pay attention again as I set this up. Now 10 has one extra set of factors compared to what we did in the previous one. The reason for it is because 9 was 3 times 3, and order doesn't matter with 3 times 3. With 10, what are we going to run into? So 10x times 1x is going to give me 10x squared, right? Or I could do 2x times 5x would work. And then order matters. So I could also do 5x times 2x, okay? And then I could do x times 10x. These are my different alternatives, my different options for setting this up. Now what I need to do is look at my last term, 12, and figure out what the factors of 12 are. Well, 1 and 12 works, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and then I can go back to 4 and 3, 6 and 2, and then 12 and 1. Now, here's the thing I'm going to notice about this. There is a lot of options. If I tried to go through this and just in brute force like I did with the first one, for every set of factors, there's so many sets of factors here. And there's so many sets of factors here. It's going to take me forever to list everything out. Now, maybe I would find the right set pretty quickly, but there's no guarantees. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of plug some things in my head and see what might work, what kind of works, and just eliminate some possibilities right away. Hey, the other thing we're going to do that we really have to pay attention to right away, I notice the middle number is negative and the last number is positive. When the last number is positive, you know that it's going to be the same sign in both. If the middle number is negative, that means that it's going to be a minus sign. So I'm going to put minus, minus in each of these because I can, and it'll simplify things. Minus, 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 minus. Okay, so now looking at this first one, I need to make 23 in the middle. 10 times 12, if I put 12 in this position, and when I do the FOIL, the outers gives me 10 times 12, it's 120. There's no coming back down to 23 from 120. So I know that one's not going to work. I'm not even going to write it in and do that. What about 10 times 6? So I'm just going to plug in this next one. 10 times 6 is 60, minus 2 is still too big. Okay, what about 10 times 4? I'm going to plug in 4 in my head to this spot right here. 10 times 4 is 40, okay? Negative 40 because it's a minus 4, and then minus 2. It's going to be negative 42, still too big. Let's keep going to this one. Oh, now we're going to be going back up again, though, because 10 times, if I plug in, well, actually, I'm going to plug in 2 to the second spot, right? Because I've always been plugging in the second number to the second spot. 10 times 2 is 20. Oh, maybe we're getting a little close. 10 times 2 is 20. So negative 20 minus 6 is negative 26. Still didn't work. What about 10 times 1? If I plug in 1 here, I'm just going to actually type it in this time. And then 12 here. Whoops. Yeah, we don't undo that. There we go. Okay, let's just think about this one. 10 times 1 is going to be negative 10x, plus negative 12 times x is going to be negative 12x. That's going to be negative 22x. It was so close, but so close doesn't make it right. It doesn't work. None of those combinations worked, okay? So I can eliminate I can eliminate this first option up here from the possibilities because I tried every single combination with it. So I'm just going to highlight this in red. Now we'll do the next combo. What if I plug in 12 for my second number here? 2 times 12 is 24, plus 5 is 29. Okay. And I know I've been kind of alternating between saying the negatives or not. Really, it would be negative 24 minus 5, which would be negative 29. I'm just trying to keep track if I can make this number, and I can't with 1 and 12. What about 2 and 6? 2 times 6 is 12, plus 5 is 17. It's not big enough. Let's try 2 times 4. This third one, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 times 5, 15. 8 plus 15, that is 23. I think we found our pair of factors, 3 and 4. So let's just put this in here and see. It's 2x minus 3, 5x minus 4. And I was just methodically looking at each of my possibilities of the first factor with each of my possibilities of the last factors. Let's see if we figured it out. So 2x times 5x is 10x squared, minus 8x minus 15x. Minus 8x minus 15x is minus 23x, plus 12. This is it. So this one factors to 2x minus 3, 5x minus 4. Okay. I'm going to move and shrink, and then we're going to go on to letter C. You're probably noticing that these are a little bit tedious to solve, but it's really important that we go through our different options so that we can figure this out. All right.